Hello and welcome. This is Couples Drive, where married couples share their stories from when they met, courted, got married, and beyond. I'm your host, Atuboyan. This week, we're taking our ride straight to the pulpit. Well, figuratively. I have with me Pastor and Mrs. Ampofo, Pastor Godwin and his beautiful wife, Mrs. Gifty Ampofo, to share with us their journey into their own marriage and also their views on marriage from a minister's point of view. This is part one of my ride with them. Take a look.
Thank you.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Pastor and Mrs. Ampofo. Good morning. Thank you for making time to hitch a ride with me on Couples Drive on this very cloudy Saturday morning. Thank you very much. How is your morning?
So far, so good.
Okay. So once again, this is Couples Drive, and I believe you know what I do on Couples Drive. So if you don't know, I hitch a ride with married couples and get their idea on marriage, their journey on marriage, where they started from, where they are, and you being in the ministry, I would like to get your perspective on what marriage is from the ministry point of view, or as a pastor and a pastor's wife point of view, and certain, topics that I would like us to cover. All right. So does that sound good?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good. How is it like being a pastor? First of all, let's start from that.
I would say being a pastor is not very easy. It's a calling, and one has to understand the purpose of your call to be able to function in that role as a minister. So, in short, it's for you to understand that it's a calling, and for you to operate in that calling as such.
I see. Yeah. Did you always know you were going to be a minister?
That's a very wonderful question. Not really, from the perspective of being a minister's child.
Oh, your dad is a minister?
Yes, sir.
I see.
Yes, sir. It never crossed my mind that I was going to be a minister, because I seen some of the challenges that ministers go through and so on and so forth. It was never my intentions to be in ministry at all.
Wow. So, you being a pastor's wife, Mrs. Ampofo, did you always know you were going to get married to a pastor?
Never, ever.
Never?
It was never part of my dream. It was never part of anything I would have wanted. So I think that it's just something that came along the line.
And you couldn't have rejected it?
Because we say ministry is a calling, and if you believe that we are here to serve a purpose, and if in that season that was what God was calling us to do, then it was going to be difficult to reject it. So it's because I accepted that was the call of God upon his life, and since I understand my role is to help him fulfill his purpose,
I see.
it was difficult to reject it.
Now, how was it like? How did you reconcile the fact that, you took several years to go to school to maybe become a nurse or a doctor, and then one day your husband comes home and say, honey, we are going to become ministers. And then you have to abandon all these years of school, of expertise to go do this. How did you reconcile that?
I think that from the physical perspective, definitely it's going to be difficult, because here comes one taxi year and you're going to see zero, which definitely the job in itself doesn't say you cannot work, but because of certain circumstances, it's a choice that you make. So physically, you're going to feel the impact, but because of the fact that you realize that we all serve a higher purpose, and because God is a rewarder of those who seek Him, then you are at peace, knowing that you're not wasting time, because in the world it seems like it, but with God, He finds a way to always reward us.
Has it been everything you look forward to, or has there been several surprises and you go like, oh my God, this wasn't part of the ordeal?
Well, in honesty, it's every day comes with a surprise. And you look at it from the perspective of you have to always be ready to meet different people, different ideologies, different cultures. But the good thing is you always come across people who understand that it's not as easy for you as it seems. And I think that makes it worth it.
I see.
I think you've missed the point where I, in a way, kind of encouraged you to and brought you to my level.
You're absolutely right. I was just trying to summarize, but it took a lot. I know I got a lot of support from so many people who shared their testimonies, and also him talking to us to, render our service to God, if this is what it was the call. And so, being a career person is going to be hard all of a sudden.
What were you doing before?
I think that I've changed careers twice in my lifetime.
Okay.
I worked as a journalist when I was back in Ghana, and then over here I became a nurse. And so I've changed careers twice in my lifetime, yes.
I see. From journalist to nurse, and then suddenly a minister's wife.
Yes, sir.
Wow. I don't know if this is a 3D. That's a lot of time.
Yes, sir.
Wow. So, how did you guys meet?
I think that, being in the same church, at one point his dad was our pastor.
I see.
So, everybody knows about the PKs of our time, but we were really not friends. I actually was in the same school with his sister. She was my senior in school, but with him in particular, I really didn't have so much interaction with him.
I see.
But he was a friend to my good friend, Dr. Benedict. And so I think that what really put us, close was I was in Pensa with Benedict, and then one time Benedict and him were going somewhere, and they gave me a ride.
I see.
And so because of that, we just, started being in the same group. How we always, church activities always brought us together. So it was more of a group friendship thing that later on evolved.
I see. So at what point did you see him as a potential?
I think that it took a while because initially it was just a group of us who would always hang together. They would come visit at home, but we kept at different stages of our life. We kept running into each other. I think he went away because his parents were transferred. He came back to do his national service at IMS. There, I was also in Kumasi at that time. I went to school in Accra. He was working in Accra. So at different points of our lives, we kind of ran into each other. And by the time that I was about to graduate from school, he was ready to get settled. And I think the friendship just evolved into marriage.
I see. So, Pastor, at what point did you see her as your future partner? Or did you already know?
Well, initially it was just like she said. It was friendship. But as we grew in our friendship, I kind of saw in her everything that I would want for a wife.
I see.
Number one, she's very beautiful. Number two, she is very enlightened, if I'll put it that way. Number three, she's very submissive and respectful. And so those were the key things that I was looking for in a woman, and I kind of saw it. So it kind of confirmed. And then this is very interesting. As our friendship developed, I realized that, number one, her first name is Gifty. Mine is Godwin. It starts with a GG.
I see.
Her mother is Margaret. My mom is Margaret. It starts with an MM.
I see.
And then she is the firstborn of the family, and I am too. So all these, in a way, started to connect for me. And aside from the things I was looking for, these were just, side issues that in a way confirmed that I think that this relationship might be destined.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so those were just the toppings.
Right.
I see. All right. So, how did you approach it? What did you tell her when you were ready for it?
It was difficult. Temperamentally, I'm somebody who was very quiet and shy, if I'll put it. It's by the grace of God that I'm able to function like I'm doing in this ministry.
Right.
And so I would say that initially I struggled. Initially I struggled. I would attempt it, and I'm choking on my words. But finally I had to make the bold step. And so one beautiful weekend, I visited, and then we were walking. So we were walking, and then I had to break the news to her. She was taken by surprise.
You were surprised?
Well, because we were friends.
We were friends.
So she wasn't kind of expecting that at that moment. So I gave her time to give me back a response, and the response was favorable.
I see. How long did it take her to get back to you?
It took a while because I was struggling with the nature. I mean, everything checked out. He's a good person. He dresses decently. He's very respectful. Such a gentleman. But the way he was so reserved, you have to pull him out a lot. So I was wondering, with me and him, that was just the only thing that we had to deal with. Other than that, everything checked out. He was great.
I see.
And then also it seemed like at that time I may not have been ready. So, and traditionally you also thought to give time before you answer.
I see.
So yeah.
Oh, so you're going the traditional route.
Yes, I was thinking.
Now you know. So, Pastor, now you know why it took that long.
That's right.
Okay, all right. So it wasn't because you needed fasting or anything.
No, I needed that somehow, but then.
Okay.
So I think these women do that on purpose. Just to keep us in suspense.
All right. Thank
So
you
my
so
advice
much.
to the young ones, the young men, is that
Be
keep
patient.
your fingers crossed.
So, Pastor, how do you balance the caring of your congregation and your personal family?
I would say the one-word answer is the grace of God, because it's not very easy. The nature of the job is such that it is very demanding.
Okay.
But then Bible also says that if somebody cannot take care of his own home, he's incapable of taking care of the flock. And so that delicate balance, I look at it from the perspective of the strength that comes from the Spirit of God. To be able to do that, otherwise you're gonna get stuck along the way.
I see. But where do you draw the line, and keep things in perspective? Like, this is church stuff, I'll do church stuff. This is family stuff, I'll do family stuff. This is maybe wife stuff, I'll give her the attention that she needs.
I think that it borders along the lines of planning. So my typical day is such that I have office hours. And then once I take care of office hours and I get home, I'm no more a pastor, but I'm a husband. And so there are certain things that sometimes I would want to bring home. And my wife would be like, honey, over here, you're not a pastor. Remember, you are my husband.
Tells you that.
Oh, yes. Over here, you are my husband. So please, let's put pastors aside and then deal with it.
She tries to put things in perspective.
Exactly. So it's all about planning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see. You two weren't married. Oh, you were married before you were called in ministry.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And you have two beautiful children now.
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you see your son becoming a pastor?
For now, he is kind of curious what I'm doing as a minister, because most of the time when my job takes me away, he kind of complains. And
he does?
Oh yeah. Why is daddy so much away all the time?
busy.
So busy all the
Yeah.
time. And most of the time when we are having meetings and stuff at church, he's the one that has to wait, till everything is over. And then, so in a way, he's kind of coming to terms with being a pastor's son. But I know that my job, in a way, also fascinates him, because I remember one time, and I shared this at church one time, where when I put down my jacket and my clerical, he took it and put it on and insisted that I put a clerical on him.
Yeah.
So I did, and he wanted me to take a picture of him. I did. And then finally he said, Dad, can you post this on Facebook? I'm like, oh no. No. So I don't know if the calling of God is upon his life. I know definitely that it will come to pass. But for now, he's having mixed feelings. He's kind of curious one time, and another time he complains. So that's the picture of that for
I
you.
see. I see. And what are some of the things that you do as a pastor's wife, Ms. Ampofo, that really makes you enjoy the calling of being a pastor's wife?
Okay. I think that the thing is where people have confidence in you whenever they're going through challenges, that you can stand with them. So in as much as it's, difficult to look at people suffering or being burdened where you don't have physical solutions, being able to be an emotional support is rewarding when they finally crossed over. And I think that is enjoyable. And also just being able to meet different people and also be part of the experiences that they share with you makes the work enjoyable. So it's just being able to minister to people emotionally and being there with them when they're joyous and also when they're going through hardship, where you are able to really see God come through for them, is one of the things that I would say makes it very enjoyable.
I see. Pastor Ampofo, being a minister, what do you find most challenging?
What do I find most challenging? I would say the toll of the work on you. Just like Safmami rightly said, there are certain times that you feel the pain people go through. And that in itself is a burden. And quite recently, I was watching a video that my wife sent me from WhatsApp, where a pastor's friend had put the clip together. And apparently his friend, being a minister, had committed suicide because of the demands of the work on him. Sometimes you don't have nobody to cry to except your spouse. And then, so the emotional demand, and then also the ecclesiastical demand, these are all demands that, weigh down on you. So that, I would say, is a major challenge for not only me, but I believe all pastors. Yeah.
Do you guys butt heads?
Maybe butt heads, it's too strong a word, but I mean, we've got our moments of disagreement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's I think that it's something that everybody wanting to get into marriage must understand, especially to know who you're married to.
Okay.
Because it helps you to be able to overcome some of the difficulties that pop up in marriage. For example, my wife wants me to be with her, and I love to be with her all the time, actually. And most of the things that we do together. So we, for example, go to grocery shopping together.
Okay.
But you know how a typical man, we want to have everything straightened out before we pick it up from the shelves. We know exactly where we're going in the shop,
Yeah.
what we're picking, how much we're paying for. Sometimes we don't even check the prices. But my wife is not like that. She would want to compare items. She would want to, if she's got her way, to at least bargain where there's a coupon and where there's a sale and that kind of thing. And that in itself, I'm still struggling to overcome, because sometimes it becomes contentious a little bit. I'm like, honey, we got to go. She's like, no, I want a fair deal. So, you know, these are some of the areas that we get disagreements a little bit. And so, yeah, to put it in perspective, that's one area.
I see.
Yeah.
How about you? Do you feel the same way? Is that one of the areas?
Yeah,
that
I
you always
think.
find yourself?
Yeah, I think pretty much we've been good friends, so it's been easy, and I think we all share the same ideology. So we've been blessed that way. We were looking at our lives and we said, I don't think we've encountered anything internal that has been very major with us, but it's just processes of how things should be done. You know, I'm
Okay.
thinking, yeah, I always thought, I said, once they've made the coupons, we're going to use it. You know? They want us to use it. That's why they made it. And you can never get him to use it. So, you know, he's like, he doesn't have the time, so he's just going to go get what I said, how much was it? I didn't even pay attention. I just knew this is what I wanted, you know. So I think pretty much that is it. But we've come along very
Okay.
well, yeah.
Now, he just mentioned that as one thing that you do that normally brings the rift between you two, or the disagreement. What does he do that really causes you to get on his back?
Oh, I do, because I think that he loves to read, and he's typically very quiet. He's an introvert. And so sometimes I'm like, the yes is, you know, like, are you paying attention? Because it's just one word answer, you know, and all that. So I'm like, I wouldn't know what you're thinking unless you voice it out. So I make him talk a little bit. And so that is, you know, one of the things that I pull him out of his shell.
I see. I want us to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
You know, you being in the ministry, I think one of the things that you deal with is marriage,
Right.
from the beginning through to the end, and so when people come to the altar, and even beyond that. One question I normally find, or I see people talk about, is compatibility,
Okay.
right? How compatible do you think people have to be before they get married?
I would say, from the biblical perspective, and from looking at the examples that I know in Scripture, I think that the levels of compatibility, to me, is defined by God, not us. Because if you look at any specific human being, there's going to be something in that person that does not match you. It's going to be something that the person that does that you do not like. So if we're going by compatibility as in likes and dislikes, then we might probably not even get married. So this is where I would say, from the minister's perspective, that everybody wanting to get into marriage must pray. Invest time into prayer. And when God answers finally your prayer request, the person that he will bring your way would definitely be somebody that you would be at peace with. I would prefer not to give a litany of items to look for that makes couples compatible. But then, you know, limit compatibility to what God says it is. Is what I would want to put it.
Do you have any thought on that?
Yeah, I think that with the background that he's given, then I'm going to look at it from this perspective. That if I'm a believer and I'm going to get married, if my first criteria would be the person has to share the same faith with me, then that makes us have a common ground. Because then our faith says that we believe that marriage is from God, and so we're going to go by it from the precepts of God. And so that makes us, in a way, compatible, because there we are the same, on the same level in that regard. But then looking at physically also, do we share the same ideology as in marriages for life? So I'm looking at compatibility as where we are starting and the final destination of our journey. And so if we do believe in that, then I guess, yes, we can say we are compatible. But if we're going to look at the perfect person, then we'll be wrong. Because as we are, is how God has called us to come. And then he keeps on refining us. So if I'm looking at a percentage, then I'm going to have an issue. But if this is who I believe God is bringing my way because I've prayed, then I'm able to embrace their weaknesses and hope that with time we will still be perfected into the image of God.
So essentially, you don't think God has somebody predetermined for anyone?
I do believe that.
You do believe that?
Yes, sir.
And is that the case for everyone, or there are people who have certain people designed for them based on their specific calling in life? Would you?
Mm-hmm.
I would say it is the case for those who are children of God.
Okay.
That's how I put it.
Yes. Because if we believe that we are not just random humans, but we have been pre-assigned by virtue of how we came into existence, by virtue of who God gave us to parent us, and by virtue of the fact that through birth we've already been given an assignment where we are different in our callings, then definitely if we're walking in the purpose of God, he knew that we need a partner, so he is predestined for us. Can we miss our mark? Yes, but he can still reroute us. So if the question is it the case for everybody? Absolutely yes. But could we miss it? Yes, because sometimes as humans we make our own choices where this is what God had for us and we went our own way.
So essentially what you're saying is you can end up getting married to somebody not designed by God.
Exactly.
Yes.
But because we are his children, he's still able to make all things work for
Right.
God. So to our good. And so once I realized that no, I may have preempted God in this, but I'm going to him anyways. I'm his child. And so if I begin to surrender to him and I walk, because marriage is his institution, so he has precepts. If I walk in those precepts, regardless of the fact that I may have preempted him, I can still have the fulfillment that marriage is supposed to bring.
So would you say that is probably one of the reasons why certain marriages end in divorces and certain marriages actually suffer? Or
Yes, in a way I would say so. In a way I would say so, because you know what, I look at the tempo at which people run with into marriage, and it's people are going into marriages about 120, 50 miles an hour, and so we hardly wait on God. We hardly commit the journey into his hands. We hardly seek his face as to where do you want me to go? What have you designed for me? What's your purpose, your will for my life along those lines? And so if we miss that aspect of decision making, then we are definitely going to pick somebody who is not designed or approved of by God for us to live with.
and what do you think causes this speed, this fast pace that people want to get into marriage?
I think society,
Right.
there's that expectation that says, well, you're going to go to school. Once you graduate, you have a job. Definitely you should get married. So the society has set some sort of a timeline, unwritten timeline for people. So then, of course, then if I have all of these, then the next expectation is marriage. And it's also a cultural thing. Depending on which culture you're coming from, it becomes the dialogue of the day. So, of course, I'm in a hurry to do it. And sometimes we let friends influence us. Maybe the group of people that we have, everybody's getting married. So let me also. And sometimes it's just our own lust and passion. I see this person, I think they're good for me. I'm not going to wait. And then I just run into it. So a variety of reasons. Yeah.
I see. But have you ever encountered a situation where you've had to advise somebody against, marriage, or a situation where you tell somebody, I don't think this person is good for you. I don't think this is God's choice for you?
Yes, we've had instances like that, but we.
Hey, welcome back. That was part 1 of my ride with Pastor Godwin and his wife Gifty Ampofo. I hope you learned from them as usual. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and also follow us on Instagram and Facebook so that you'll be notified once new videos are posted. I'll see you next time with part 2 of my ride with them. Until then, let's keep love alive. Bye.